Hello everyone, welcome back to NeoEnglish, your easy and friendly way to learn practical English while talking about today's news.
We're so glad you're here. In this episode, we have a very interesting story. It's about Alcatraz, a famous prison in the United States, and a new plan by former President Trump.
Yes, and we'll help you learn some new words and phrases that you can use in conversations about news and history. First, let's talk about the main people in this story.
The news is about Charlie Hopkins. He was a prisoner in Alcatraz in the 1950s. That's more than 60 years ago. He spent 3 lonely years there. Lonely means feeling alone or without friends. For example, you might feel lonely if you move to a new city, or if you eat lunch by yourself.
Alcatraz was not an ordinary prison. It was very famous, and it was on an island. Many people could not escape because it was surrounded by cold water. When I say infamous neighbors, I mean the people he was with in prison were very famous, but for bad reasons. For example, Al Capone was a well-known criminal, and Robert Stroud was known as the Birdman of Alcatraz.
Infamous is a good word to know. It means someone is famous for doing something bad. If someone is infamous, it's not because people like them, it's often because they did something wrong. For example, a bank robber can become infamous, or a hacker becomes infamous when they do crime online.
Let's talk about the prison being called a facility. In English, facility means a special place used for a purpose, like a school, a library, or in this case, a prison. For example, a gym is a sports facility. A hospital is a medical facility.
So, in summary so far, Charlie Hopkins was in the Alcatraz prison facility. He spent 3 lonely years there, and had infamous neighbors. Now, the news mentions Donald Trump and a plan to reopen Alcatraz as a prison. Reopen just means to open again.
That's right. If a cafe closes for 1 month and then opens, we say, the cafe will reopen next week. The same word is used for shops, museums, anything that opens and closes.
Now, let's explain why Alcatraz was so important. It was a prison for dangerous criminals for 30 years. Most people could not escape, and it became famous all around the world. Many movies and stories are about Alcatraz, because it was so strict and hard to escape.
But life there was very harsh. Charlie Hopkins said his years were lonely. Imagine being away from family and friends and not being able to leave.
If you are talking about current events, by the way, this means news happening now. For example, the war is a current event or the election is a current event.
Now about Donald Trump's idea. He wants to reopen Alcatraz for prisoners again. That is, to make it a prison again. It is not used as a prison today, it is just a tourist place.
So in this news, we learned about Charlie Hopkins' memories and Donald Trump's plan. Let's do a quick recap of the vocabulary and phrases we explained today.
Great idea. First word, lonely. This means to feel alone, without friends or company. You can use it like this: I feel lonely in a new city, or he was lonely after moving to college.
Next, we learned infamous. This means someone is famous for bad reasons. The hacker was infamous for stealing money, or the pirate was infamous during his time.
We also talked about facility. This means a special place for a job or activity. My school has a new computer facility, or this facility helps people learn English.
And don't forget the word reopen, to open again. For example, the bakery will reopen soon, or they plan to reopen the museum after repairs.
Let's repeat the story in an even simpler way. Charlie Hopkins was in Alcatraz, a famous and very hard prison. He was lonely and surrounded by infamous criminals. Today, Alcatraz is not a prison anymore, but President Trump wants to reopen it as a facility for prisoners again.
You can use the new words like this: that place is an old prison facility. Many infamous criminals were there. People felt lonely, and now they are thinking to reopen it.
That's all for today on NeoEnglish. Listen to more episodes to learn new words every day and talk about real news with your friends.
If you want more daily news and English practice, subscribe to NeoEnglish so you don't miss anything. Thanks for listening and have a great day.